Do you have anything for the?
What's that microphone in the back?
That's just to get. That's for the Blair Witch.
Is that aesthetics?
That's the Blair Witch mic when she sends you to the corner. That helps if you've seen the movie all the way to the end.
The Blair Witch Project. This movie, I had heard about it. Like, it had to have come out when I was like 21 or something like that.
Yeah.
21 or 22. And, there was a lot of buzz about it, and there was a lot of controversy around it, trying to determine whether or not this was actually a documentary.
Right.
Or was it a movie?
Right.
And I did not see it in the theaters.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't. And I happened to see it, I happened to rent it one night. And that movie fucked me up, man.
Yeah. It's a creepy movie. It freaked me out.
It worked.
Yeah, it works. It was kind of spoiled for me, I guess, a little.
How so? Because of other people talking about it?
Well, no, not even necessarily, right? So it was marketed. You remember it was marketed as these film school students went missing. This is the found footage.
Right.
It was literally started a genre known as found footage.
Right.
You know,
right. We got our Paranormal Activity stuff coming after that, which are great movies too.
And I truly do love that genre.
Yeah,
it's a cool genre.
Yeah, it's a very cool genre.
So when they had this, but then they got to advertise the movie. And honestly, the people who made it, wrote it, filmed it, did everything for it,
right,
want credit for it.
You would think.
They all were on Jay Leno one night. And I was like, but so they found him? I honestly had the real naive thought.
Right.
They found them.
Right.
They're going, and I'm like, why are they on Jay Leno? Shouldn't they be on Diane Sawyer or some shit? You were possessed by a witch.
I just want to take a moment to take a deep breath, get ourselves centered, and welcome everybody back to the next episode of the 6 a.m. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff. Joined with me, my other host, Pat.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Pat George.
We are the hosts.
Yeah, that's right. We're the hosts of the 6 a.m. podcast. You're the watchers and or listeners, the proprietors of the podcast in which we pursue our dreams and our hopes of making jiu-jitsu bigger in this world.
Bigger.
Thank you for helping us in that.
Faster,
If
stronger.
you're watching this, please hit the like button.
Oh, we should talk about this
Yeah.
because we try not to ask you guys for anything.
No.
This is not, we talked about this in the last podcast. Most of what we do is demonetized.
All of it, yeah.
On purpose.
We are purposely
Or unintentionally,
unmonetized.
intentionally.
Yeah, we are unmonetized professionally.
We are we've been professionally unmonetized.
Yes,
but we normally don't ask you guys to do anything. But here's something else that we've noticed is that every time that we kick back up the new season and we start putting out episodes, our audience members grow. So we're very grateful to all of you guys for listening and asking questions for Ask a Black Belt, commenting, sharing these things is important. But also do yourself a favor and us and subscribe to Baby Mermaid Productions.
Yes,
okay,
please.
get on YouTube
Yep.
and subscribe.
Yep.
If you are on Apple, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, if you are on Spotify or whatever your favorite podcasting network is, subscribe to the podcast so you guys get notifications, and it makes our podcast more visible.
It helps us
to more people.
Yeah, this is so ultimately the more you support the show by either liking or subscribing, reviewing, rating, all that other stuff.
Right.
It does help the show grow. Rising tide raises all ships.
That's right.
And then eventually we'll get a couple shekels in our pockets. We'll get a better set. Maybe we'll we'll have these cats put down.
Maybe we'll have lions instead of cats.
Yeah, we'll upgrade the cats.
Ooh.
We'll get bigger cats. We got to get to the bobcats next.
Bobcats,
Yeah.
and then pumas, and
Yeah.
then tigers.
Cheetahs.
Tigers are the biggest cat.
I heard cheetahs are notorious pussies, Jeff. Recently,
They like to run.
bunch of fucking cowards in my book. They just haul ass.
Yeah, that's
as soon
it.
as trouble comes
Like,
around,
I'm
they're like,
out.
"Oh fuck, I'm out." No, cheetahs apparently because they are constantly getting fucked with and constantly getting killed.
Right.
Nature itself has actually helped them to evolve to where they're just naturally timid in general. So even cheetahs in captivity are scared to come out because they're scared of prey or predator out there or anything like that.
Sure, yeah.
And too scared even to mate, to help anything, like to help their species at all in captivity.
They're like, nope.
They're like, no, we're out of here. So to help the cheetahs actually come out of their shell more and feel more protected, they are assigned a dog.
Well,
A dog in captivity is kept with the cheetah, and they grow, they bond, and the cheetah adapts more of the dog's personality traits.
and its social behaviors,
more social,
and
and it
aptitudes,
becomes more comfortable.
It's as interesting. I would think in the outside of this would be a mistake, but
You would think,
You
yeah.
would think.
But again, when you said cheetah, I was like, yeah, those are actually. I
Yeah.
didn't realize how much of pussies they are.
guys, I have to admit, speaking of dogs and
Please.
Subscribing. Also, by the way,
Oh yes.
as-
Get more nuggets like that.
This is every week. Every
Yeah,
time.
this is a jiu-jitsu podcast. Cheetahs are fucking pussies.
Speaking of dogs,
Yeah.
I just had this conversation with my wife. But for those that have been longtime listeners and or personal friends of mine, know that I'm not necessarily a cat person or a
Yeah.
dog person, but I have been drug into
Yes.
like the animal kingdom, the
Yeah.
domestic animal
You're like
kingdom.
surrounded by dog and cat
cats
lovers. It's so funny that you
constantly.
aren't. Yeah.
I've now been I have like kicking and screaming. I'm now like a cat person,
Mm-hmm.
okay, because I have a cat that loves me for some stupid reason. And I just told my wife this morning is that I am now like fully in love with my dogs.
Yeah.
And I understand more why you people are so fucking kooky.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Yeah.
It's you. I think the thing is, Jeff, you have kids, so like,
do have
it's-
kids.
So a lot of times for most people, until they have kids, or if they can't have kids, a lot
Sure.
of times pets will replace them. For me, I think it's a problem. So it's a real problem, Jeff. Where like you could show me videos of children and people suffering, people dying, all this other stuff, and I'll go, man, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I'll say it because I know that's what you're supposed to say. But I'll really go like, I don't know. I mean, there's too many people. There's a
Right.
lot of people,
And you can't save them all.
and you
right?
can't save them all. Like, you know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and if that was me, I don't expect a complete stranger to care. But that's just me. It's
Right.
That's a problem.
Right.
But when I see animals get fucked with even a little bit, I want that person to die
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So I have even from a child, I was an animal lover to the extent of I wanted to be a veterinarian until I realized I would have to see sick animals, and that
Right.
would bum me out.
And that was too much for
And
you.
I didn't think, oh, you could help them, stupid.
Right,
You know,
right.
but
but
that's
the
yeah,
gravity of that job would have been too much for you to
exactly.
to
And I
manage.
even as a
Yeah.
young age, I knew that. So it's good to
Yeah.
have you in the fold.
Well,
What's it-
thanks.
How did you, I guess, come to realize this?
Well, so the big story is that we had gotten a puppy here about 9 months ago, and it was before we had to put our German Shepherd down, who had a degenerative disease. It was ultimately leading to his full paralyzation.
Shout out to Milo.
Yeah, shout out to Milo. Yeah, love you, buddy. My wife has always been a huge dog person, animal person in general, but she's great with dogs, loves dogs. She was absolutely in love with Milo, and he was in love with her, and I really enjoy. Just so everybody knows, I got Milo because. And it's a very tragic set of circumstances. Somebody that we had known and were friends with had passed away in a very tragic set of circumstances. I won't get into the details. It was a violent crime, and it made my wife nervous that she was at home by herself. And we don't have firearms in my house. I'm not like anti-gun, but I have a bunch of kids too who.
Yeah.
One of which is extraordinarily fascinated with firearms.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah, I
Just
don't.
one of them to be interested in them. I wouldn't
that's
do
right.
it with kids in general,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah, yeah.
if one of them's like, I like guns, Dad.
I
you're
mean, really
okay.
like guns, likes
Yeah.
building them, likes thinking about them.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
so no guns in my house.
So you're actively taking guns out of the house every
I'm getting
week.
right.
God damn it, these fucking things out of here. Stop building them.
Yeah, so no guns in my house, but I got this dog. I got this German Shepherd who would take good care
Yeah.
of her, and sure enough, I mean, he is that kind of dog. But anyway, my wife just was completely in love with it, and I really enjoyed watching their relationship, and was terrible. It was tragic to have to put him down. But before that happened, we got ourselves a puppy, and he is a blue heeler, and it's the first. We've had herding dogs obviously before, but this is our first cattle dog, and he's a fucking maniac.
Yeah.
And he's great. He's super smart. And this is the first dog that I've had dogs my whole life growing up and so on and so forth. And I've always loved the dogs. I was like, yeah, I mean, that's my dog.
Yeah.
But like,
you're my dog.
Yeah. But I'm like, meh, you know, it's a dog.
I remember you saying that, and I remember thinking, like, I definitely judged you.
Yeah,
like,
that's fine.
Like when
yeah.
we, you know, because we get to know each other over the years from doing the podcast, and not in a negative way, but almost like, man, really?
Like how does one?
I almost didn't believe you. Like,
yeah, how does one not love dogs, right? Or how does one not love their pet? Like
an animal, like
Yeah.
something like that. Of
Right.
like, oh, I really love raccoons, even though you don't have them as pets. Like
Yeah.
you're like, oh, they're my. That's I like
My
think they're-
spirit animal,
I think they're
right.
cute, or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Or you're like, I know that you probably don't necessarily think things are cute,
Not really.
really, but
Yeah.
like to me, genuinely,
My wife is cute.
Yeah, you're
about
into
it.
your wife and her spaghetti.
Yeah.
All right, we hear it every fucking week. Shout out to Jeff's wife's spaghetti.
Yeah.
And Jeff's wife. In that order. But no, like, but like to me, when like if you don't like cats, I can understand if you're like, oh, I don't like baby
Yeah,
cats.
you're not
or
a
whatever.
cat. You're not a cat
But
person, right?
a baby animal is cute.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, watching
Yeah.
that relationship and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I figured even at that time, I remember thinking, Jeff's either lying, or
Okay.
he just doesn't realize it yet, because I
Well,
don't think you can have them. Yeah.
It turns out I just didn't realize it
Yeah.
yet. You'd have to find that animal for you, right? That's
Mhm.
yours. That like you were like, this is why people go crazy. Well, his name's Louie, and he's a cattle dog, and this dog can do no wrong in my heart, even though all he does is
all he does is
Everything's
wrong.
right?
Yeah.
because he's a tank.
Yeah.
He's anyone's ever had a cattle dog, they're super high energy. They need a job anyway. Long story very short is that here this past weekend, we had been talking about it before, but I have an older pug who like Louis wants to play with and herd and stuff, and he's just like,
Yeah.
you know, like leave me alone. Yeah, I'm old and I don't want to die.
Yeah.
So we got Louis a dog this past weekend.
That's awesome.
And her name's Zoe, and
Uh-huh.
she is a pit bull and what the hell is she?
Is it American Bulldog? Or?
No, just like she's a pit bull mix, but she
Okay.
what's the other dog? I can't now
Bull Terrier?
Now my brain is now shut off and
Okay.
I can't think of
Yeah,
what,
now you're just thinking about what you're picturing a bunch of different dogs, but not actually. You're
she
like,
was originally considered a husky pit bull mix, but then my wife's like, no, this is definitely a border collie. Like,
Oh,
I couldn't
okay,
think of
okay.
it. She's a border collie pit bull mix, and she's super sweet, and I love her, and she and Louie are getting along famously.
Yeah.
And it's doing exactly what we wanted for him.
Yep.
They play all the time. They're exhausted all the time. And it just made Lou like even just a happier pup. And I
Yeah.
felt like I accomplished something.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, I just love this dog so much, and I just wanted to make him happy. And
Yeah.
and so then I realized today I'm a fucking dog person.
That's awesome, dude. Well, because
Yeah.
I remember you saying that a couple weeks ago that you were a cat person.
I
and
am
was
a
like,
cat person too, because I
and-
have this cat that I love.
And I was just like, yeah. To me, I was just like, it's undeniable in my opinion. Like, because actually, very similar to that, we had a kitty cat. One of the
Right.
kitty cats that came up with us, Dobby Waberson.
Yep.
He passed away
Right.
a couple, like 2020, right before the pandemic, or right during the pandemic.
Or
right in the
yeah,
middle.
so it was kicking off, right?
And we were devastated.
Sure.
We couldn't believe it. He was the sweetest kitty cat. We couldn't believe,
Right.
you know. So when we were like, all right, well, if another cat pops up, you know, we still got Chloe, but she's just a stereotypical cat, regular
Yeah.
old cat.
Kind of like
Like,
meh,
Well,
leave me
everything you would think about is very to herself, doesn't cuddle with you really,
alone. Right.
doesn't necessarily give a shit about you, just exists.
Likes to smack shit off the shelves.
Yeah, literally every
yeah.
stereotypical thing you can think of. So, so we're like, if a cat affords itself to us, then we need a sweet boy again eventually. you
Right.
know? Well, a friend of ours lives near a farmhouse, and Stanley popped up, showing that her kids brought it home. brought
Enter
him home,
Stanley.
right? And she's like, "Well, we're not keeping a fucking cat." She's like telling them she's allergic, lying to her kids, all this other shit. So we're like, well, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we'll get them checked out. We had them on kitty quarantine. I guess maybe a little too long. Also, maybe Chloe is a little bit too much of a bitch.
Yeah.
They hate each other.
Right.
Chloe and Stanley hate each other. So we're like, damn, this sucks. And he gets really codependent because it happens during the pandemic.
Sure.
So now that when we're going back out into the world, he's like, who do I get to hang out with?
Yeah. What are you doing?
Enter Carmela.
And then
So we
there's
get Carmela, who is, I go to a vet's offices for work and everything like that.
Yeah.
They asked me one day, "Hey, are you here to take home the kitten?" And I was like, let me see her. And I met her, and you've met Carmela. She's
like
chill
Carmela.
as fuck.
Yeah.
She's like whatever. And
Stanley's my man, but I
Yeah.
like Carmela.
but
Yeah.
but it did exactly what I wanted to happen.
And this is the
they
thing.
became best friends.
They're social creatures.
Yeah.
Guys. I mean, like that's that's the thing. It's like you get the dog and you think, okay, or the cat, and you're like, they're going to be our pet. And that's true, but you're gone a lot. You've
Yeah.
got things to do. You're not always home, and it's like
They get bored.
They get bored,
Yeah.
and then they get depressed, and then they get
And it's good that you got another dog that's like
Cagey.
similar to like with another terrier.
Yeah,
another,
exactly. We
like,
wanted one that was
yeah.
going to be like she's definitely submissive, but
Yeah.
we also want her to be robust.
Right.
So, because let
That's
me
where
tell
the
you,
pit comes in.
let me tell you what happens with cattle dogs, guys. They tank everything. I mean, they're a tank. They just,
Yeah.
they just, and they're awesome. But and I don't know that I could ever imagine a life without a cattle. But here's the best thing about cattle dogs too is that they're very healthy breed of animal, but they can live up to like 15 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, on average.
If
So-
if they can, and
if
I'm
you're-
sure
if
you
they're
guys
well
take
cared
care of
for.
them.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Your
yeah,
wife
yeah.
probably makes them really
Melissa
good.
makes dog ownership very easy,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but yeah, it's like. So anyway, so that was a great intro to our podcast. I'm a dog person and a cat person.
You're getting to know us.
You're getting to know us. So
honestly,
hit that subscribe button.
if there's we like to see the numbers going up as much as they have been, and they're growing.
Yeah.
And people are really responding to the episodes.
Yeah.
We're getting great feedback. So thank you for supporting the show. Tell people if you think they'll like the show. If you want us to
Yeah.
do commentary at your jiu-jitsu competition,
Happy to do that. We'll
let
be
us
doing
know.
that this weekend.
Yeah. So this is
Yeah.
going to be, by the time this is out, that will already have happened. But it was a blast. We had a great time.
Yes, we did. We had a great. I know this is always the problem. When we get into the world of jiu-jitsu, I'll be talking about stuff that's going to happen in a weekend after the podcast will release.
Hey, but
that's
it's an ever-changing world.
It is an ever-changing world, and that's what we're here to do, is to be one step behind. So, you know what, Pat? Today we're going to talk about, and just because also for all of us, there aren't a lot of jiu-jitsu podcasts out into the wild right now, so we definitely want to be in the top of the heap here. We talk about Brazilian jiu-jitsu because this is what we do.
Yeah.
We're jiu-jitsu practitioners.
Yep.
We are teachers and students and fighters, and so we talk a lot about the world of jiu-jitsu and life as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, and how it like sort of assimilates to everyday life and so forth. But one of the things that we want to talk about today is getting on the struggle bus.
Oh yeah.
Getting on the struggle bus, because jiu-jitsu, my friends, is a struggle.
Yeah.
And I find that over in the years that I've done jiu-jitsu, not just myself personally, but then also becoming an instructor and then seeing students, that there is a common issue with the jiu-jitsu struggle. And the jiu-jitsu struggle is the one that tells you that maybe you should play golf.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're not any good at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And it has a lot to do with like your progress throughout the ranks, and then your continuing progress after you've made it to the pinnacle, which is black belt. Is that I would say the majority of people that make it to black belt don't retire then.
Yeah.
It's just the start of another.
Their belt gets all fucked up looking, and
Yeah. But you're like, and you're not going anywhere else unless
Yeah.
your last name's Gracie. You're not getting a red belt.
yeah, that's true.
And you're 83.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Your black belt's your last belt.
We need more belts.
We
Add
need
more belts.
So I think, to solve this problem and to end this segment, is we should just add more belts.
Yeah,
to
honestly, Jeff
jiu-jitsu.
asked and answered. If you want to get out of that struggle bus, add more incentive.
Yeah, more incentive to stick around.
I want to be a fuchsia belt.
Yeah,
I want to be an olive belt.
an olive belt would be a good one.
Yeah.
A
Olive
turquoise belt.
Ooh, yeah.
where does that fall?
Seafoam.
Seafoam.
Ooh.
Seafoam. Ooh, yeah.
Honestly, yeah, there you
The
go.
kids have a lot of different colors in their belts, and I'm just a little bit jealous.
Dude, they get stripes this way.
Yeah.
they get two yellow stripes.
Yeah, they get stripes around the belt. They get
Gray.
stripes on the rank.
Gray's one of my
sleeve.
favorite colors.
Yeah, see?
I struggle with many things, Jeff. So when we talk about struggling with jiu-jitsu,
Right.
a lot of times some of the things that I'm surprised that are a struggle for me, even
Okay.
this late into my, and maybe you can. So like I feel like maybe this is a issue that everybody turns into, and I don't
Maybe.
know until I share.
Sure.
But I feel like I've forgotten almost every single fundamental. I mean, and Jeff,
This
that's
is
not
a
an exaggeration.
No, I believe you.
Every single, somebody asked me to shrimp, and I was like, damn, wait, what? How do I? Oh yeah, it's a bridge, and then
Yeah, I push my hips back towards my shoulders.
yeah, it's one of those things where I knew what it was. I know I'm not an idiot. I know what shrimp is. It's one of my favorite things. But
Delicious.
if there is like, I couldn't think of the function of it.
Right.
Essentially, the practical function of just a shrimp. I would probably do it a million times in rolls, and not great and not perfect, but like,
Well,
but
is?
I've lost. I feel like I struggle with form and fundamentals even later on into my blue beltism.
Yeah, so we go and that's where you are right now in jiu-jitsu. It's funny that you bring this up because I'll make you feel a little bit better, and I'll say that is not uncommon.
Okay.
And it's not uncommon. Where Pat is in his progress in jiu-jitsu, he's a 4-stripe blue belt, which means he is preparing for his purple belt. And the purple belt is the beginning of the expert levels of jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And so it takes a long time to get your purple belt. And I tell everybody that you guys can quit when you get your purple belt. And that's strictly because you're not going to quit when you get your purple belt.
Yeah, nobody would. Because I think that's the thing is maybe because I heard a million horror stories when I got my blue belt that you're going to quit. Don't quit.
So many people quit
Watch.
at blue belt.
Watch. You're going to quit. And I even personally know a blue belt that has quit.
Quit. Right. Of course you have.
So I don't understand that thing. So maybe it's this or this. Mm-hmm. Either you quit or you get to, because you've lost all your fundamentals and you're like, well, why am I still doing this? I'm getting worse.
Yeah.
Or you go, I've lost all my fundamentals. I'm headed into the expert levels. I better get my shit together before I get that purple belt, or I'm going to look like a dickhead.
Yeah.
And that's where I am.
Right.
I think is where I don't want to make you look bad, and I don't want to look bad, because and it makes me. It does it does make me feel better.
Of course.
That doesn't happen, but it's one of those things of like a 4-stripe blue belt should know the fundamentals, at least most of them.
And the reassuring thing is that you do know the fundamentals.
Yes.
The problem there, and Pat just exemplified the entire
okay, good.
The entire problem with jiu-jitsu for most of us as practitioners is that there's a lot of anxiety that is self applied,
because everybody's gonna watch you put that purple belt on me,
right?
Do you know what I mean?
Right. And they're like,
and then they're gonna watch. Then they're gonna go, all right, guys, warm ups, and they're gonna go, what the fuck? Does he have a purple belt on?
Right.
Get him a gray belt.
Right. The thing is that, and that's everyone's perception, is that everybody's looking at you going, that guy's a purple belt. Like, I'm a purple belt. I'm way better. Or am I? Or they're the opposite. They're like, fuck, that guy's a purple belt. I'm no good. I'm not even,
His shrimps are awesome.
Yeah, everybody.
Wait, what?
Right. Everybody thinks that everybody's watching them. And one of the best pieces of advice I ever got, this was in relationship to competition, was that somebody that I respected and admired at a higher level of jiu-jitsu reminded me that, like, when I was given this advice when I was a blue belt, was that nobody cares about your progress.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about your performance at this competition because you're a blue belt. Yeah. Nobody cares.
I have to constantly remind myself of one of my favorite quotes, which is most of the things people worry about never happen.
That's true too.
And
right.
And literally that's what it is.
Nobody's watching. I have to remind myself that all the time. My wife puts it another way. She says, I love you. You're just not that important.
I love you not being a statement but a preface. I love you, but
you're just not that important. And it's true, but it takes the weight off of your shoulders.
Yeah.
That, like, and even me now at this stage of my jiu-jitsu career at black belt, still nobody cares. Like, there's nobody like that's like, watching what I'm doing and going, like, that guy's a black belt.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
See that fucking back choke?
And if they
that guy sucked.
that guy sucks.
But even if they sucks at the back choke, he invented
it. But even if they are, then that's like a them problem. That's not a me problem.
Well, it's funny you say that because I went to a fundamentals class.
Yeah.
And a person who I very much respect in jiu-jitsu as well made a statement after class, after we were done and we had rolled. He said, you roll way better than you drill. and I was like, I took it as a compliment because I was like, yes, I never look good on paper.
Right.
But I don't want to accept that with jiu-jitsu.
No, of course.
I want to look good on paper with jiu-jitsu.
Right.
I want to be somebody who knows the moves.
Knows the names, understands the position.
If I want to talk about it
yeah.
on the podcast and I want to talk about it doing commentary and whatever else later on,
Right.
I need to
Right.
know.
Right.
I know it, like you said, but it's one of those things that like if I need to explain it and I need to know why.
Sure. And there's like this the reason you roll better than you drill is because when you roll, you're not thinking.
Yeah,
when you drill,
exactly.
you think, and when
Yeah.
you think, you're like you second guess, and when you second guess, you know.
That helps too. That helps.
Yeah.
That's an insightful way to think about it, because I was
Yeah.
thinking of like it is meditative in a way, but it's also like, but it is like, it's just I don't overthink stuff. I don't think, oh, I gotta get on the shoulder. Ow, I'm laying on my hair. Ow.
Yeah, right.
You know, like
right, or you're doing that to somebody else, and
Yeah.
you're thinking the same thing the whole time.
Sorry.
Like,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And it's weird because like that, because along those lines, of course, is that as you progress through jiu-jitsu, you also age, and you know, life circumstances happen.
Mm-hmm.
You were really good at purple belt, and then brown belt, like things got like nasty for you, and
Injuries
then you
start piling up, or
yeah,
something
stuff
else.
like that. But these are all legitimate excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I say they're legitimate because I mean, obviously, if you and your wife have a baby, or you get a new puppy,
Yeah. No. Yeah.
or
Exactly.
you blew your knee out and it's a catastrophic injury. Like, these are like legit, or you changed your job. Like, these are things that will influence and then you start thinking about like, well, maybe I should just take it easy, or I should back off. And we've talked about this in previous podcasts. And the answer is yes, of course. When you need a break, take a break.
Yeah.
But don't leave jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. You have to replenish. My wife calls it refilling her cup.
Yeah, I call it recharging my batteries.
Yeah,
We've talked about this before, and I think that those things are important. But the actual struggle when you're on the mat and you're working constantly and you feel like you're going nowhere, here's a funny thing, and that is and we talked about this in the episode that is going to be released this coming Monday, is Danaher talking about changing the culture of jiu-jitsu so that we're focusing more on the submission game. But I have another thing that I wanted to add on to it, which is the inspiration for this podcast, and that is, in the culture of jiu-jitsu, we need to redefine what is progress. What does progress look like? I had an interesting question today in class from a brand new student who was talking about guard, and they were like, I don't know anything about guard. And fundamentally, I said, there's only two guards that you have to concern yourself with in the very beginning: closed guard, open guard. Mm-hmm. But there are dozens of guards inside of each of those. Yeah. But fundamentally, there's only two: open guard, closed guard,
or not.
Yeah.
Are your feet crossed?
Right.
Oh, that's a closed guard.
Yeah, that's a closed guard, right?
Are they not?
Yeah, right.
That's open.
Right. And and yes, we're going to get into half guard, and yes, we're going to get into De La Riva guard, and yes, we're going to get into butterfly guard and X guard and single leg X, and I mean, it just piles and piles and piles on. And lockdown, yeah. I mean, there's lots of things to consider. But for right now, I want you to worry about where your feet are. Are they behind your opponent? If your feet are behind your opponent, then you're in a closed guard. Or you should be.
Yeah, yeah, Jesus.
If they're not, your feet should be in front and you're in an open guard.
Right.
And so, and that, my friends, is progress. That's huge progress.
Yeah.
When you understand those fundamentals and how they function, then I can show you butterfly guard.
Yeah,
right?
Jeff, the biggest thing I feel like, especially in jiu-jitsu, and I do relate this to every part of my life, but the biggest thing to rate your progress in any part of your life is perspective. Is shifting your perspective to see, just look at where you were months ago and whatever you're doing.
Right.
I guarantee you are not in the exact same spot. I guarantee you are not doing, and if you are, now you know to change it. Like, literally, shifting your perspective is not going to hurt you at all.
Right.
It's never going to hurt you. It's only going to help you grow, because you don't lose anything. You don't lose your old perspective. You're not going to stop thinking like you used to. You're going to shift it to a new way and go, oh, I was thinking like this before. Now I'm thinking like this, and now I can see more.
Yeah.
I can see what I'm doing.
And it's 3 words. It's hard work pays. It
Yes,
pays.
yeah.
Guys, listen to me. Trust me. This shout out to my son Max, who is in the Civil Air Patrol, and he volunteers for everything, does everything.
He's the gun lover.
No, he's not actually. Shout out to my other son too, but who also learned.
Yeah.
My other son Victor also learned this lesson this year too by taking his first job as a lifeguard. But both of them just like volunteer to do everything. Like, I'm going to work. I'm going to do this thing. I'm not going to look for any other reward than I'm just doing it because it needs to be done. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
and then Max there was an opening for a position of authority in his squadron, and he applied for it, and they said, how about not this, but how about the next one up? How about squadron first?
They offered him
the first sergeant position in the squadron, where he'd be running PT and a lot of other responsibilities. Right. And he was like, I can't believe this happened. And I was like, dude, hard work pays.
Yeah.
You've been doing it for the sake. You've been doing it because this is what you want to do, and you didn't ask for anything in between. You just did the job, and like, people recognize that.
Yeah.
The same thing happens in your jiu-jitsu, guys. Because the next question is why is it so hard to be good at jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, good is a moving target.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's levels to this shit.
Again, aging, new people coming in, all this other stuff. Like any of that stuff.
Yeah, that stuff changes. It changes, and it changes all the time. But how do you get good? So funny story is that your progression in jiu-jitsu, whether or not you are good or not, has to do explicitly with whether or not you're still doing jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, you will be good.
Yeah.
You'll be good at it. And funny story. When you get to a certain point in your jiu-jitsu career, it's just little things, man. It's just little things. Joe Stetter, shout out to Joe Stetter, taught me something this week while we were on the mats. Joseph is a first-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, my best friend, bandmate, and we were working on body position during takedowns, and specifically in regards to a single leg, which I've been doing for years, legs. And he's like, hey, man, listen, you're dipping your shoulder. You're dipping your shoulder and it makes it easy for me to counter. And I was like, oh, word? Like, for real?
Yeah.
That's it? And he's like, yeah, just square up. Just square your shoulders up. And what do you know? Like, this whole week has been nothing but, like, getting single legs exactly the way I want them, from going from a dip shoulder to a straight shoulder. That was it.
Yeah.
Perspective. Guys, I'm learning stuff all the time. Yeah, perspective.
And that's what that is. Like, that's part.
Yeah.
And you didn't. It's not even necessarily something that you were struggling with necessarily.
Well, it was a struggle when people were countering my single leg, right? Like, or countering me going for a single. Like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Again, you shift your perspective. I can't see me.
Yeah.
But Joseph can see me. When you measure, like, when you're on the struggle bus in jiu-jitsu, and it's not unlike all the other struggle buses.
Struggle bus could be a short bus, or it could be a big bus. It could be a real, because it could be literally, oh, you dip your shoulder.
Yeah.
And it could be like, oh, okay.
That's an easy fix.
And you can hop right off that bus.
Right.
Or it could be,
it's time for warm-ups. I don't know how to shrimp.
Today. Yeah. Everybody's watching me shrimp shitty. Now everybody's going to be like, look how he's shrimping this shit.
This motherfucker's a
fucking idiot. Can you believe he calls that a shrimp?
Yeah.
No, I think there's the thing of, like, any one of the things you could ask, I could fake it, but it's also like that to me is still a relatively small struggle, because, like you said, I do know how to shrimp. I just got to I got to get back into form, because that was the thing, is like, I've also, like you said, life changes, your schedule changes. I was all out of whack with my jiu-jitsu schedule for a while.
But also your knowledge of jiu-jitsu changes. So as your knowledge of jiu-jitsu changes, you want to explore new things and you try out new stuff, and then all of a sudden you realize that you're not integrating your fundamentals because you've abandoned them for the sake of, like, learning new stuff, and that's totally normal. That's where you are in jiu-jitsu right now. You've learned those fundamentals, you understand those fundamentals, you can apply them, at will.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, but there's all this cool other shit that I'm going to start to learn.
But what if I do this?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, that's kind of cool. I like that, and you go after it. Then you realize that you're like, okay, I'm getting really far away. It happens to everybody. And so then what you do is then you go back, just do what you're doing now. And that you're like, so for the next whatever time period, it doesn't matter. You're going to work on your fundamentals. And then you're going to be like, oh, this is how my fundamentals apply to all this other cool shit that I'm working on right now. And then all of a sudden you're you're a competent purple belt. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, then I can look people in the eye.
Yeah.
With my purple belt
Yeah,
on.
you're a competent purple belt. And then you go from that to like your brown belt, in which you're refining who you are as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, and then you get your black belt, and then you teach that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's cool. That's what makes it interesting. But
and that's how you grow your personal game,
Yeah.
your personal
Yeah.
perspective, and your personal your overview essentially of it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I've noticed this like recently, like in terms of like how we teach jiu-jitsu and we progress through those systems, guys, is that like the struggle for you to learn is directly related to the struggle for us to teach it. Because when I recognize that, like, for a lot of you, you've got 2 or 3 training sessions a week is the average, right? The average practitioner, the casual jiu-jitsu learner is coming in 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
That's between 2 and 3 hours of mat time.
Yeah.
But that's only, an hour and a half maybe of instructional learning, and then an hour and a half of positional rolling or sparring. There's a lot of you that are progressing in different ways, and I can't not the instructor can't see everybody all the time all at once. You just can't do it. But remember that in that progress, like as you're spending that time on the mat and you're training, like if before, so the reason I bring this up is because what I've done is I've changed the way that my methodology in teaching. So it may seem like we're going over the same thing for weeks, but just with like the Russian tie to single legs that we've been working on lately, today, Friday morning, everybody fucking did it great.
Yeah.
And it's because, and we're going to continue with it next week, because now everybody's sort of getting it, like how it works into their game, their system, their thought processes is now it's like becoming part of their game. And I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
We could move on to something else next week for sure, but next week, so we're just going to continue. We're going to continue. And while I know for some that's a drag and you want to learn new stuff, like just trust me, if your level of progress is measured like this, like at the beginning of this, you couldn't set up a Russian tie at all. You had no idea what it was. Now, not only do you know how to set it up,
Gi and no gi.
Gi and no gi, you also know how to get a takedown with it. You know how it's defended. You know how to snatch a single leg out of it. And you may not be great at it, but you know it now.
Yeah.
That's progress.
Yeah.
You may not be getting, but let me ask you this question. If before you knew it and I asked you to do it in a live roll,
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't even get close.
If you asked me to do a Russian tie before you taught me how to do it, I probably would have grabbed at my belt and been like, did I tie it like this? How do I tie? How do you want me
How
to
do
tie
the Russians tie it?
Yeah, I don't know how to do the
Comrade.
Russian. Oh, they do it without pants. I got to take my
I
pants
got to
off.
take my pants off. Yeah, you would have just taken your pants off.
A Russian tie would just be like Sambo, or do I just take my pants off and then retie my belt over?
I don't have wrestling shoes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't. I don't have my shoes. Can I wear my Tevas?
Yeah. So I mean, and that in and of itself, guys, is miraculous. That we did this. I did this with a couple of students that I teach privates to in mount retention, and they weren't quite getting to the full progress that we were, or the full explanation that we were working with. However, their mount retention went from 3 seconds to 20 seconds, and then 20 seconds to like 45 seconds, and then 45 seconds to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of a sudden your mount's becoming dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, all the other stuff that we're learning, that I'm teaching you, that I'm showing you the technique for, will apply once you can retain mount.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't retain mount, you can't get the other stuff.
You're building dangerous ninjas.
Right.
That are going to be able to contain people and finish them.
This brings up the last kind of point I want to make in this topic, and that is like you're actually the one that brought it up before the podcast where we talk about it, is that oftentimes we are, and we've talked about comparing yourself to others and so forth, and it's been done. However, one of the things very specifically, and I know each and every one of you motherfuckers does this because I do it too, and Pat does it too, is that you have this idea that when you are at a certain level that you should be beating other people in the gym during practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a misconception.
It is a misconception. The problem with this line of thinking is that you are at practice. you should be practicing, and you should practice at practicing, because it's important for you to recognize that the only fight that I want you guys to win is when you have to save your life.
Right. Nobody wins practice.
Yeah, it's just not a thing, guys. Yeah. I mean, for the person that's keeping track of those things, they're the one that has a problem. They're the one that's going to run into an issue with learning jiu-jitsu, because they're so busy on like trying to be the best at practice that they're not learning jiu-jitsu. They're caring about who they're tapping or who's tapping them during practice.
Yeah.
You need to take this opportunity. This is your laboratory. This is your time to take what has been taught to you and apply it. And of course you're not going to be good at it at first. Why would you be?
Right.
Why do you expect to be good at it without having practiced it?
Yeah, you can't expect to, like, you can't go you have to be aware of it. You have to, if you aren't good at it, you have to go, oh, that was good. I got to get better.
Yeah, your self-awareness is important, right?
Yeah.
But you're a professor. I'm not looking at you going, what a fucking loser.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't believe he fucked it up that bad.
I mean, I just taught it to him 5 minutes ago.
Did you just say seatbelt condition? What the fuck?
But no professor worth their weight is teaching you guys a move and then 5 minutes later expecting you to be perfect at it in a live roll. That's dumb.
Yeah.
No.
But it's helpful when you do see someone like, it's a weird thing. Like,
when they're good at it, you're like, fuck yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Confidence is a huge part of the struggle bus. I feel like that's a transmission of the struggle bus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when that's, or maybe let's just say it's the fuel.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, because if you gotta make sure like that it's going forward. You're gonna struggle in jiu-jitsu no matter what.
Yeah.
But you gotta keep it going forward. That, like,
good analogy.
If it's not good, if you're whatever you're not doing, let it fuel you.
Yeah.
Go, okay, well, like, be vulnerable and say, how can I get better, or how can I make this work?
Right.
And that's gonna because no matter what, there's going to be a struggle. Like, there has to be a struggle through life.
It has to be.
There's just going to be. If there's not bad times, you don't know what good times are. So in jiu-jitsu, embrace the struggle and actually let it fuel you in a way to say, like, okay, well, I'm going to get better at this. I hate this.
Right.
All right. That's because
you
suck at it.
Right. You suck at it. Right. Yeah. Be okay with that. You suck at it. Right.
Yeah. You are struggling and you're not acknowledging it.
It's really well said, Pat. I mean, and here's the last thing you guys should know is that I'm driving the fucking struggle bus.
Yeah. This guy.
Yeah.
Have you seen his knees?
Yeah. I will get you to your destination.
Right.
We're all on the bus together, and that's the best part about it is that we are forged in this fire together. We are all on the struggle bus.
Right. The license plate of the struggle bus says 6 a.m. We had it specially made. We had to pay extra for it.
As we do with all of our branding.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus. Exactly. Yeah. We are our biggest merch customer.
We make it and buy it ourselves.
Hey, we love the flag. Can we buy one?
No. Like,
that's the only one that's ours.
I'm like, why are we in the hole again? But yeah, so get on the struggle bus or stay on the struggle bus because it's going.
Come with us on the struggle bus.
Yeah.
Hop on.
Yeah.
Boop, boop. Toot, toot, toot.
Pat, what's happening in the world of jiu-jitsu today? First I want to give a shout out to one of our 3G affiliates who put on a sub-only jiu-jitsu tournament this past weekend, which was a good showing. And so shout out to Nate for putting together Elizabethtown Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and put together this submission-only no-gi tournament. Mm-hmm. We had a good showing there from a lot of our sister schools and affiliate schools, and then schools outside of that. It was a great time. Everybody performed really well. The best part about our this particular tournament was that everybody rolled really well.
Okay, yeah.
They were great matches. And we ran into this, you and I ran into this when we were commentating on like King of the White Belts. It's like, these are white belts.
Yeah.
And everybody rolled really well.
Yeah.
Good grief, man.
And if it's like an open tournament, especially no-gi, where there's you got
sub-only rules.
Scrambles, sub-only.
It was sub-only.
People are going to go crazy. Nobody's thinking about points, but everybody's thinking about dominance.
Yeah, it was good. So great. So shout out to all the competitors that showed up this past weekend for that tournament. It was great to see everybody, especially faces I haven't seen in a while. And like, again, the environment was like my favorite part about jiu-jitsu tournaments is when the environment is friendly and light. Like everybody is here for the same, but when they roll, they're fucking animals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we'll be friends afterwards.
Yeah, like that.
And I was like, dope. That's
legitimately,
cool.
That's it. It doesn't have to be any different.
No,
like I was saying
it's
earlier,
great.
like you can just go in there and I've seen that where I've like a street fight kind of thing where the two guys were fighting and then the guy was like, "We good? We good?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're good.
We're good."
They
Right,
like
exactly.
shook hands and they were like done.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, you beat my ass." Like
Yeah.
that to me is how fights should end. Should be
Agreed.
The two people that were just fighting should
Yeah.
go, "All right, well, you won. Good
Right.
fight.
But,
Thanks, man."
the other guy was like, well, at least you stayed and fought.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what
It's
I mean?
like, hey,
yeah.
big ups on you, dude.
Yeah.
That was hard.
Yeah,
it was really hard beating you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have, of course, when this episode releases, unfortunately, we'll have already passed this time. But I'll just go ahead and preemptively give a shout out to our next big tournament that's coming up here tomorrow, as a matter of fact, in the Kozen Judo tournament. At the time of you're listening to this, it will have already passed. So my big congrats to all the competitors who came out and showed. Pat and I will have already commentated this fight. It will be live streamed. So if you're listening to the podcast and have not seen the judo tournament, please feel free to go back and watch the live stream and enjoy. Kozen Judo, it has a different rule set than regular judo in that there are allowances for wrestling takedowns, guard pulls. So it's a much more open environment for people that have different tactics and how they get people to the ground. And it's a great way for you guys to go and showcase those abilities strictly on the there's grappling involved too. There's submission wrestling involved as well. But the premise of it is to get on your feet, start on your feet, and then get somebody to the ground.
Yeah.
Get them pinned, which is kind of cool.
Also, the rule set's a little different, right? Like
Rule
you
set
can
is
use, wrestling takedowns. Doesn't have
you
to
can use wrestling
judo.
tactics. You don't have to use judo specifically. You can use wrestling takedowns. You can use like I said, you can guard pull as long as that you're sweeping and getting on top. Like those are things that are all legit. And I think it's cool. It'll be a great time, a great format. So we're looking forward to that. And again, I'm going to just go ahead and assume that it's going to be a great time. And
I'm assuming we fucking nailed it on commentary.
I'm
again,
sure,
as
always, it is.
And
That's
also,
a given, kind
you're
of.
welcome.
Yeah. Something else, guys, that's coming up too. That's the following weekend. Again, by the time you're listening to this weekend will have already passed. That'll be from August 31st through September 1. Is that we have Worlds? We have Worlds Masters. Out
so
in
we're gonna
Vegas.
have lots of.
We actually
World of
have
Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, we have competitors going out for this, and so shout out to those guys, and the best of luck. I assume at this point that we'll have already known of your victories. Yes,
Congratulations! I'm going to say it right now.
Here's
Congratulations on your wins.
Here's the crazy part. They're combining Masters Worlds with Jiu-Jitsu Con. So it is right now. It is the largest IBJJF competition in history.
Jiu-Jitsu Con, you said?
Jiu-Jitsu Con, yeah.
I didn't know that there was a fucking convention for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's another grappling tournament.
Oh, I was like, wow, really? What do they just have like?
So this is like a tier down from like Worlds.
Have Andre Galval signing headshots or something.
Well, they'll have novice divisions in Jiu-Jitsu Con. They'll have kids in Jiu-Jitsu Con. So I mean, but putting them together means that you're going to have now there's like for those of you that aren't aware, like the IBJJF, the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, is the closest thing that we have to like the pinnacle of professional competition in
Closest
Jiu-Jitsu.
to our NFL, essentially. Like,
Right. It's a league, if you will, and so a lot of schools, like when they're teaching and like you're sparring and stuff, follow the guidelines of IBJJF. We're among those that for the most part, unless we're preparing for a different type of tournament, that's what we follow as a general rule for the school. And they're sort of the presiding body, right? So anybody who's anybody is is part of the IBJJF, and one of the what was I going to say? Oh, there's only two like major they have opens which you qualify for, like the big ones. We have Pans, and then we have Worlds, and so this is one of them that's kicking off. Masters Worlds, so that's for the old guys. Will be kicking off there too. So what we're going to have is we're going to have the biggest, and which is really encouraging. Again, so from a podcasting perspective, as people that have been involved in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for me, it's been almost 17 years. Like that, like to see that it's reaching this height and this level of acceptance and participation is really encouraging.
Yeah.
So best of luck to all the competitors there.
Yes. please.
And
Win.
and this one just goes out to David Nye. Are you ready? David Nye. I'm speaking directly to you.
Hey, David Nye, look him in the eye.
That's right. And that is Mighty Mouse is going to be competing at World's Masters.
Oh,
So
that's going to be cool as shit.
I think he already knew that, though. I think he was actually talking about that. But I thought he might have been talking about a different tournament, in which case I just wanted to know that, he's putting a gi on and fighting. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. In gi?
Yeah, in the gi.
How fucking cool is
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So anyway.
Nice.
So that's what's happening in the world of jiu-jitsu today.
Yes.
Or yesterday.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. Jeff, I guess that means that it's time for
Ask a Black Belt.
This one, Jeff, is from John.
Okay, John.
John asks,
He asks.
Jeff, what's your second favorite martial art?
What's my second favorite martial art?
Yeah.
It's judo.
Is it really?
Yeah.
How come?
Because it works in tandem with jiu-jitsu.
Huh. So, if I may, Jeff.
Yeah.
So if there is a martial art that you love, right? Like jiu-jitsu, right?
Boop. Yep.
And you could never ever train it again.
Okay.
You would train judo?
As my set, so if
that
I couldn't do jiu-jitsu.
Like that, do you think there would be anything? I don't know if that's what John meant essentially, but like I think I was thinking like how I was thinking of the context of it would be like if you were not able to do jiu-jitsu. He didn't put it in this context, but he just said, "What's your favorite section?"
Yeah, which one would I go to?
Yeah. Would that be it? Really? Would it be judo?
It would be judo because it's the closest thing to jiu-jitsu.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought Muay Thai when I saw that. I thought Muay Thai.
I think it's great. If I was answering this question from an entertainment standpoint, it would be kung fu. Kung fu is kung fu might be my favorite.
What does Dustin Poirier always have? He has thug jitsu.
Thug jitsu.
Yeah, that's a thing. And apparently it's a school.
Okay, I've not heard of it.
Thug jitsu.
Thug jitsu.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so judo. That's
and
interesting.
that would just be because that would be part of my continuum.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be something that I would gravitate towards. I don't have a professional or any type of legitimate rank in judo. I know some judo stuff.
I think I'm 1,000 days at a white belt. My first degree white belt.
Well,
for judo,
then I've got 14,000.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those things that yes, you're right. Judo definitely is
the stuff that
congruent
like some of our professors David Brogan, who's a black belt in judo, and my professor Greg, who's a brown belt in judo, and they've taught me things. And Angel, who's one of our great judo black belts and Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. I know his social profile is judo, right? Angel Judo.
Guy loves it.
A great practitioner of jiu-jitsu, but also a great teacher. So I've learned judo in that respect, but not in a formal context. So I would think that if I couldn't do jiu-jitsu anymore, I would move.
And it'd be kind of cool because then in that case, you could kind of just start over. You could be like, hey, I'm going to learn all new.
Speaking of which, I want to make this shout out onto the podcast, and that is if you are not a USJA member, okay, that is the U.S. Judo Association member. Become one. It's $80 for the entire year. Okay, that's it. You pay $80 a year, but you get the insurance covered. That if you sustain any injuries during your time on the mats, it is covered up to I think it's $10,000.
Holy
up
shit.
to $10,000 of your medical bills are covered by that insurance, and it's $80 a
that
year.
probably scares a lot of people away.
we are now officially the largest jiu-jitsu club in America.
Fuck yeah. I better start learning some judo.
Yeah.
I
So
need to
now
get into
I gotta start training now judo.
Somebody better ban me
At least
from
get my
jiu-jitsu.
yellow belt, which is the first belt in the
all right, Jeff. This is a little bit different, this question. This is from Stephanie.
Okay, Stephanie. It's a little bit different.
What's your favorite type of gummy?
What's my favorite type of gummy?
Yeah.
This is an easy question for me to answer.
Worm, bear,
Steph.
Swedish,
It's peachy rings.
peachy rings. What the fuck are peachy rings?
What the fuck's a peachy ring?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, my uneducated friend, a peachy ring is exactly as it sounds. All right.
Little peachy rings.
It's a little peachy ring, but you have to be careful, Kat, because you have to get the peachy rings from Carnes Food Market,
Okay.
because the other peachy rings are okay, but Carnes Food Markets
So
when
is it a peach flavored gummy?
Yeah.
Is that what it?
yeah
Ugh. I've never heard of peachy rings. That's
yeah
so
peachy
funny.
rings, they're my favorite.
You had it like this. You're
They're
like
coated.
peach
They're
rings.
coated in sugar. Yeah, they're terrific.
Okay. I think I know what you're. Yeah. The little circular gummies.
Yeah.
But they're peach flavor, specifically peach flavored with the little
So
the granulated sugar on
it's
it.
possible that Steph knows this already. I don't know for sure because I don't know how many people I've told. But being vulnerable, I'm a sucker for gummy candies. I don't like candy in
I don't know
general.
if it's the stuff we know or not, but yeah,
Could be any
sorry,
Stephanie. Yeah, I mean, well, any.
But yeah.
Stephanie, and answering your question.
Yeah.
I happen to be a sucker for gummy candies. So
Yeah.
peachy rings, number one. Number two, Swedish Fish.
Uh-huh.
So as soon as if I can't get peachy rings, and then after that, it's Sour Patch Kids.
Wow. So you like all the cloudy gummies?
Yeah, cloudy.
So I like a clearer gummy. I'm more of a Haribo guy.
Yeah. So is shout out to Justin.
Oh, okay.
So is Justin.
I fucking love
gummy
Haribo.
bears.
And if I'm feeling a little squirrely, I might get those little bougie ones, the Albanese ones.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen those? They're
No.
mainly in sheets.
Okay.
They're like gourmet flavored gummy bears, but
Yeah.
gummy bear, worm.
I like that.
Like that.
I don't like the worms, but I'll dig on the bears for
Catch
sure.
me digging around a dirt cake for the worms. I'll
You
tell
know.
you what.
I tell you what.
Ping, bite the heads off. But yeah, I'm a big gummy conveyor as well. But
I love 'em.
I've categorized them from cloudy gummies and clear gummies.
Okay, I got
Cloudy
you.
gummies are your Swedish Fish,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
Sour Patch Kids.
No, that makes total
Yeah, yeah.
sense. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really good.
I have a
but peachy
family.
rings,
I have a family pack of Swedish, or not Swedish. I'm sorry, the Sour Patch Kids at my desk right now.
Do you like the watermelon flavored? Those are pretty good.
You know what? This is the thing that amazes me is that like most of the gummy flavors, like people are like, "Ugh, I don't like. I like all of them.
Oh, yeah.
I like them.
Yeah, yeah.
They're because they. I don't know. They
You're
surprise
you're
me.
an equal opportunity gummy.
I am.
Hell
I am.
yeah.
They're terrible for your teeth too, by the way.
Terrible, but they're delicious.
But they are delicious.
Keep up the great questions. Thanks.
And
Send
they
them
will-
in.
They will wreck your stomach too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially if
too
you eat
many-
them on an empty stomach.
Oh
You ever
my
eaten
God.
a bag of gummies on an
Oh,
empty
yeah.
stomach?
Oh yeah.
In your 30s,
Oh yeah.
you're dead.
Yeah,
That's a
you're,
death sentence.
you're a goner.
So Jeff,
This leads us to only one more.
what is it?
One more question.
What, the question is
Is-
something about
What's on your turntable?
huh?
What?
I'm not sure if you know this or not, but I'm revisiting a lot of older like bands that were available to me in my youth that I didn't necessarily fucks with.
Yeah, you didn't take advantage
Didn't
of the
resonate.
time.
Yeah, it didn't, I was kind
Or
of
maybe didn't resonate. Okay.
Yeah, or it's kind of one of those things of like now, at an older age or a different perspective, a more mature musical palette.
Yes.
I'm revisiting with the internet's help. Thank God.
Thank God for Al Gore and the internet.
I'm telling you, thank you, Al. That's why they call it. It's an Al Gore rhythm. That's what that came from.
There you go.
Al Gore. That's the
makes-
only rhythm he has.
My son asked me the other day who invented the internet. I'm like, Al Gore.
Al Gore, dude.
Yeah.
Al Gore rhythm.
Al
It's
Gore
right there. But he, there is a band that I never really gave too much. I liked a couple songs, but I never really checked them out too much. I'm revisiting, and I've started exploring their whole catalog. Zayo.
Not familiar.
Not familiar with Zayo?
I'm
Zayo
not
is
familiar.
a very unique, I don't know if you call them metalcore or hardcore band from
Okay.
early 2000s, maybe 90s. Around the same time, I believe, as like, other bigger bands at the time, Poison the Well. Or
Yeah,
any of
Poison
those.
the Well I'm familiar with. Okay. Yeah.
And just have this really gritty sound to them. Like it's a very like the music itself has this weird, like much like Poison the Well, kind of this ominous tone to it.
Right.
Not just regular. It's almost spooky hardcore.
Okay, gotcha.
It's very
Yeah.
very serious. Not. I don't. there's not a lot of frill.
I
Let's
like,
just say.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. It really is hard to explain.
No. I know the sound when you say spooky hardcore. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, this makes perfect sense.
Where it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Kind of scared. It gives you
Yeah.
goosebumps, but not in the same way that like that other music might. and in particular, the vocals sound like it sounds almost like who's that fucking guy? The guy that sounds like he's gargling fucking asphalt.
Which one?
Tom Waits.
Oh, Tom Waits. Yeah.
Tom Waits. It almost sounds like Tom Waits as a metal singer because it's just this gravelly, crazy. I can't necessarily. I think I believe
Love
the
me some
album.
Tom Waits, by the way.
Don't let the album title deter you, but I believe it's called Funeral of God or Funeral for God. But
I mean, that would spark my interest right away.
It's a very great band, and I was really happy to see when I looked them up and to say like, hey, what have these guys been up to?
Yeah.
They have been continuing, and it's still very
That's always heartening too.
fulfilling music.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it's there's substance to it, and they're a band that is like, if you like hardcore music or anything like that, check them out. Like see if you like them, because it's a thing where if you like most of that type of music, or even if you're a fan, like if you're fans of Poison the Well or
Right.
Under Oath, I would say, but not as much. It's just it's pretty cool, pretty brutal hardcore music. You should check out.
Would you recommend, if you're going to start anywhere with them, would you go back to the beginning, or would you kind of look at some of their newer releases?
It would be. I would say that album in particular, Funeral for God.
Yeah,
I think would
Funeral
be
for God is the one you would start with, just as an introduction to the band.
Because there are a couple albums in, I believe, at that time, but it's still early on.
Sounds
to where,
kind of matured a little bit.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's almost like they've more actualized, realized sound at that point. Dickhead. Stanley's giving us some technical difficulties.
Yeah, I mean, or about to.
He's like, wrap it the fuck up.
I'm about to give him some technical difficulties.
Jeff's becoming a cat hater
Yeah,
again. Stanley, take it
thank
easy.
goodness, I feel like myself again.
But Zao, I would say check them out. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you've seen them around, and if you like harder music or heavier music, I would say check them out.
Yeah, great, awesome, man.
What about
Good
you,
selection.
Jeff?
Well, I too have gone back in time. Stuff that's like literally on my turntable right now is.
Wow.
Are you familiar with two-tone music?
Yes, yeah, like
Okay.
early, like first wave ska. Am I right?
Well, you could call
Second wave ska.
Yeah, you could call it that, right? But it's not that. I mean, so two-tone is very specific. So for those of you that aren't familiar with like how ska music came from Jamaica, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was exported to England.
That's why they call it two-tone, because it went from black to white.
Very well said. Yeah, and
I just got that.
and ska music was part of, like, it was integrated into this would have been 1960s skinhead culture, and so for all of you people out here that every time you hear the word skinhead you think Nazi. No, skinheads were working class. It was a rebuttal to the hippie movement of the times in the 60s, and fuck you hippies.
They're like,
and
fuck your hair, stupid.
yeah, exactly. And then there was also a large immigrant population from Jamaica that was coming over, and they were bringing these records over. And the funny thing about ska music is ska music was a response to soul music from America in the 1950s and 60s. And the Jamaicans just screwed it up. So,
Oh, really?
And they made their own sound, and it was ska music, right?
Huh.
And it's great. It's just a terrific story. If you get into the weeds, okay. And look, I just got a spam risk right there.
They're listening.
It's constant. My phone constantly ringing with this fucking spam. Anyway, do take your time to educate. This is a fascinating story. Anyway, all that said is that the youth culture during that time period broke off into two factions. The skinhead movement broke off into two factions. One was punk rock, okay, which was coming of age at the time, and the other one was two-tone, which was an exploration of punk rock and ska music together, and it made its own sound. Two-tone. I'm sure you guys have heard of bands like the English Beat, Madness,
Clash.
The Clash was punk rock.
Okay.
I mean, but
I wasn't sure,
they borrowed, like, a lot of like Jamaican ska rhythms in their
Early on to that, like I'm not as familiar with that.
Yeah.
That, like I said, like early on, I'm hearing things in waves of ska or
Yeah.
whatever. Like I
Right.
know Real Big Fish and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like later Operation Ivy. Shit
Yeah,
like
Operation Ivy is like, punk and ska together.
But that's almost like a bastardization of two-tone.
Yeah,
from that
third
sense.
wave ska
Yeah.
would have been like a bastardization of two-tone.
Yeah, that's where I started picking up. Like I'm not as educated on the earlier stuff,
Right.
but that's really interesting.
Two-tone music is it's a lot of fun. It's it can be very serious at times because it talks a lot about like there's a lot of like social strife in England at the time. There's a lot of political strife, and so like this, and there's a lot of like concern over like I said, social issues like racism and so forth. Like immigration was a big deal. Margaret Thatcher is a big deal. Like so you
That
get a
bitch.
Yeah, bitch. So you get a lot of teen angst in two-tone, which is really cool. But anyway, all that being said is that at one point there was a movie made, and it was a documentary style movie called Dance Craze, and they put together a record for it, and the record is called Dance Craze, and it's got all those bands. It's got Bad Manners on it. It has The Selector. It's got the English Beat. It has the Specials.
That's the one I think I know.
It's got.
I think that's the one.
The Specials are very, very popular.
Yeah. British people fucking rule that two-tone.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah.
Madness. Well, Madness is one of my favorites. I love Madness. Dude, on that first side of that record, guys, let me tell you, like even if you're not necessarily a fan of two-tone music per se, like listening to this record because it's a live record, so you're listening to they're all live cuts, but that. You want to get things like you want to get goosebumps and like pumped up. Listen to the very last track on the first side. It's One Step Beyond by Madness, and at the end of that track, okay, the crowd is like they need more madness, right? So it's like madness, but it's a whole room of people. Dude. Like, could you imagine like someone like a whole room shouting your band's name like that? Like,
British people are soccer fans. Soccer fans. Greatest chanters in the history of everything. Right. They nail it.
And at that time period, who were the biggest like soccer hooligans?
Yeah.
Skinheads.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was right place, right time for sure.
It was great.
And and that's honestly that I love the melding of music.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like I like when a lot of people get shit for like, oh, they were heavily influenced by or they stole this person's sound or whatever.
Right.
But it's like to me, unless they directly steal the notes, the chords and stuff like that.
Right.
To me, that it is a game of telephone, but in the best way because that's how new genres are built.
Exactly.
Because you're like, oh, I think I remember. Didn't it go like this? And you're like, no, but that sounds fucking cool. Whatever you're doing.
Yeah, it sounds great. And then it influences bands like one of my favorite bands of all times is called they're the Slackers, and they're out of New York City. And the Slackers play like they play what's known as New York City ska. Mm-hmm. And the reason they say that is because they try to emulate all kinds of sounds that they got from Jamaica and two-tone and punk rock and all this stuff, and they're like, we fucked it up. So here's New York City ska, and it's unique and it's very much rooted in ska music, traditional reggae, ska, and rocksteady music. But it's beautiful and it's so personal to New York City and the Slackers. You know what I mean?
Like they have their own genre.
Yeah, they have their own. They made their own because again, like you said, a great way to say it again, man. It's a game of telephone that's actually awesome.
Yeah, it's the best version of a game of telephone.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
Oh, you know what else is funny about that record too is that I noticed the other day when I was putting it on, and I'd never noticed it before, but up in the upper left hand corner, it was like for promotional use only, not for resale. And I was like, I got a promotional copy, and you brought up a promotional copy in the last episode.
Oh yeah, but the NoFX thing.
Yeah, the NoFX
hell yeah,
yeah. So I was like, I have a promotional copy,
dude. It is so refreshing to know that no matter what, like it doesn't matter if we have anything really necessary, like what has actually been on your turntable can always be like, oh yeah, I listen to a couple podcasts sometimes, but like
sure,
it's almost like it's gotten to the point where it's reinvigorated of like, how can I challenge myself and like what
can I listen to?
Use the internet for something besides just
use it for good,
for naughty business.
Naughty business.
I can be a good boy. I can.
Yeah,
Jeff,
there's a lot of good stuff out there.
We can do it through music.
We can do it together through music.
Jeff, it's been great talking to you.
Hey, it's been great talking to you too, Pat. Nice work today.
Hey,
you guys
did all right.
You guys, thanks. Thank you.